Hello and welcome to Lesbian Visibility Week 2023. If you're just joining us, welcome. We're here celebrating all week, having a whole host of conversations with incredible members of our community. If you're one of those people who's already tuned in, scrolling through each video, watching them one after the other, thank you. We love you. My name's Char Bailey. I use she and her pronouns, and I'm from Team DIVA. I'm their roving reporter, and if you subscribe to the magazine, then you'll know me as their features writer. I'm joined by some incredible people in the community who are what I like to call experts in the field of connection, love, and dating. Now, I have to be fully transparent. I have never used a dating app, and I'm absolutely the most shy person when it comes to dating. So I am literally on the edge of my seat, waiting to absorb all of this information. So as you can see on the screen, I'm joined by three incredible guests from Timey, Hinge, and Her. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So if you could start with your name, your pronouns, where you're from, and a little bit about your journey. And I'm going to start with Mako from Timey. Hi.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Mako. I know it's a weird name. My pronouns are she, her. I am from Tbilisi, Georgia, so represent the Caucasus. And I've been with Timey for a while now. I work in the customer safety and satisfaction and general customer service department. I'm a shift lead. And I'm also transitioning slowly into becoming a community manager for the app and for all the lovely people that are with us. That's about it. I'm just really excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting.
Thank you so much. And we're really excited to have you. Moving on, I'd like to introduce Robin, the CEO from Her. Hi, Robin.
Hi, how's it going? Yeah, my name's Robin. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the founder and CEO at Her. Her is a dating app for queer women, non-binary, and trans folks to meet and connect with each other. And I started the company. Her went out about 8 years ago now, and so has been around for a while, and was created because there wasn't a platform dedicated for queer women to meet each other on. And I was very jealous of all these gay male platforms that existed, and there was a bunch of hetero platforms that existed, and nothing kind of truly represented what felt like an experience designed for queer women. And so started on the path of building Her.
I love the authenticity of that, like for us, by us, and so needed. I know so many of my friends who have met on Her, and they always have
Mm.
such an incredible love story. So really excited to hear from you, and thanks so much for being here. And last, but of course, by no means least, we've got the lovely Mo from Hinge. Hi, Mo.
Hi, thank you for having me, and I'm just really glad to be here. I'm very honored to have this conversation. So I'll just start. I am Mo Ari. You can call me Mo or Mo Ari. I use he, him, or they, them pronouns. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist by profession. I'm also Hinge's love and connection expert. And so, a big part of the work that I've done over the past decade as a therapist has brought me here today. Some of that has been my personal journey as a person of transgender experience. And a majority of my work as a therapist has been sitting with LGBTQIA plus individuals, couples, families at all kinds of intersections of identity and in spaces in life. And that's what I love. I love being a champion for our issues, being an activist, using my platform and my voice in just trying to make our lives more visible. And I think that that is the work that I'm doing at Hinge as the love and connection expert, really working in the app and off the app to build inclusivity and really understand the needs of our community and just spreading messages of love in a variety of ways so that love becomes synonymous with all people, especially LGBTQIA plus people.
Oh, wow, Mo. I could listen to you talk for hours. And I think what you said there is so poignant, especially as we celebrate Lesbian Visibility Week, love being synonymous with all people. And I'm going to be sharing stats all week. You will never hear me shut up about my stats all week. I'm no statistician. I'm very impressed that I just said statistician. Note that, statistician. But my favorite stat this week, or fact this week, is that lesbians are the most likely to be trans allies of everyone in the LGBTQ community. And I'm really proud of that as a lesbian. So, are we ready to get into it?
Yes.
Let's go.
I feel like we're all friends now. We all know each other. We're in the groove. And I'm ready to find out all about love. So as I said, full disclosure, I've not used a dating app. And one of the reasons I haven't used a dating app is because I would have no idea what to say. So I want to kick off with Roving from Her, because Hinge has conversation prompts in app for you to help get the conversation started. So I want to know, what is that about? How does that work? Where does that idea come from? And what are your sort of top ins to get those conversations started?
Yeah, totally. And I think like dating is hard. Like meeting strangers and building new connections is scary. And it's, you know, there's like a vulnerability that you're putting out in the world, and you're taking a risk every time you do strike up a new relationship. I think something that we found by spending time with our users and really trying to like understand this experience that our community has is there's a lot of intentionality that people want to have when they strike up a conversation with a match. And that sometimes can lead to people really hesitating about not knowing what to say or what to send. Like they really want to send something like thoughtful and personal and custom. And then that can kind of lead to this like panic and freeze, because, you know, you're swiping on the bus, you're like matching like on the sofa, and you're a bit hungover, and you're like, oh, I'll deal with that later. And then they kind of come back to it and they're like, oh God, what do I say? I don't know, why aren't they saying something? Like, should I say something? And there's this kind of like gay panic that happens in the moment of like, where do I go
All
from
the
here?
gay panic. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm literally like, my insides are singing. I'm that person who has to go to a WhatsApp group and be like, they said this, what should I say back?
Literally, yeah. We think about it, and it's because it comes from like a place of heart and like really wanting it to be right and good, but that also like it truly can then lead to like it not happening. And so I think one thing we try to think about is like, what is our role as a platform to hopefully understand what someone's goal is when they come to us, and how we can hold their hand through that and hopefully get them to their goal, even while they may be like struggling with it slightly. So the conversation openers started from that. It was like, look, we know you've both said you like each other. We know you both have the right intention here. You're just struggling to kind of get over that line. And so we have the conversation starter that comes in. And I think our role, sometimes we have some in there that are like funny, some are like serious, some are dumb. And we don't care if you're going like, oh God, has sent this. This is such a stupid question, because it really, that even starts the conversation going. And we know that when the conversation starts, like it will go through for like days, weeks, months, like however long it takes. It's just getting over that like cold start problem is really impactful, and it had a super positive impact on the like number of conversations and the way that people engaged when they did get that match.
Awesome. And so for someone like me, that would be such a massive help, almost like a fairy godmother just whispering, just say this,
try
or say
this.
that, try this, try that, like the good little angel on the shoulder.
Yeah,
I
exactly,
love that.
exactly like that.
Moving on to you, Mako, the bit that comes before you get to the conversation, and one of the sort of big barriers for me in my, let's call it abstinence of dating apps, is the describing yourself in the profile, the sort of selling yourself. I find that, you know, we have this internal thing that makes us recoil and makes us want to be small and makes us not want to celebrate and say who we are. So Timey worked with DIVA on the feature, and we talked about setting up the perfect queer dating profile. So can you give us some tips on how best to communicate who you are in your dating profile? And feel free to use me as example if you like.
Sure, absolutely. There's a few things when it comes to the selling yourself part. First of all, I think people also kind of overrate how important that is. Everybody kind of panics about it a little too much sometimes. The thing is, you can just keep changing it as you go. Change your bio 20 times a day. Nobody cares. I mean, like, the staff does not care. We encourage you to change it every other day, every hour. But also what we have found with a feature that we added was we added prompt questions. So it's like a little card and it asks you, for example, what's your favorite LGBTQIA show? Or what do you go crazy for? Or stuff like that, which means we guide you into actually answering those questions instead of you coming up with a question that you will then answer. Because I think that's where people have a lot of difficulty. What do I say? You know, and I think of myself as well. I like so many different shows. I like so much different music, but I don't know what to convey to someone when I'm trying to kind of sum it up in a cohesive manner that would help people understand. Obviously, due to formatting on any given app, you also have some limitation on how much stuff you can upload and what you can do. So you have to just kind of guide yourself into letting the app guide you, if that makes any sort of sense. And we get a lot of customers. Since I work in customer service, I feel comfortable in knowing this. We get a lot of customers over the age of 40 who come on the platform. They have never used a dating app before. They're not super tech savvy with these kinds of little things that teenagers might know how to do. And they ask us, what do I write? What do I do? And sometimes it's our job to help them out with it because they've kind of been tinkering around with the app for a good 5 minutes. They couldn't really remember anything to write. So we kind of customize a profile for them. All in all, I think selling yourself is not even the right word. You know, we're not merchandise. We're not trying to put ourselves out on a bazaar for a discount. But if you really feel creative with it, go with emojis. That also helps convey a visual picture, upload photos. It always helps to be expressive. However, some people are not comfortable with that. So we give them these prompt questions and icebreakers to help them get started so they can then become bolder and bolder.
So I'm going to be using emojis. I'm not going to do this. I have a girlfriend. I love you so much. But hypothetically, if I was going to do this, I'm going to be using my emojis. I'm going to be uploading a variety of pictures showing off who I am in different versions of myself.
Sure.
And I'm going to be switching it up. I'm going to be sort of like letting my profile sort of evolve as I evolve.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel almost sort of ready, not ready, love your girlfriend at home, to go out into my hypothetical dating world. I said I was going to be talking about statistics, and I'm going to move on to the lovely Mo from Hinge, because Hinge recently did a report beyond the talking stage, and it was so insightful when it comes to stats. The report found that 57% of LGBTQIA plus Hinge daters shared that lack of communication was the biggest obstacle in their dating life. And at the same time, 71% of trans daters plan to have the expectation check. So for those of people at home who don't know what the expectation check is, can you tell us, first of all, what it is and how us as daters can work towards improving the quality and the quantity of communication? So the expectation check and improving our communication, please.
I love this question so much because it nicely blends my skill sets as loving connection expert at Hinge and therapist. So I'm gonna give you both because they're kind of really aligned here. But just laying out what the expectation check is first. It is when we in a relationship just intentionally state what it is that we're wanting to co-create. I think that that's the moment that we're all kind of waiting on when we meet a new person, like, okay, what's going to happen here? And I think as a therapist, I spend a lot of time with people who've gotten beyond that space, but maybe they didn't actually intentionally go from I to we. Doesn't matter how many partners you have, like what your dynamic is, whether you're non-monogamous, polyamorous, whether you're looking for a hookup or a long-term relationship, there is this intentional shift that we have to make when we're going from just an I to someone in a relationship, whether it's a friendship or not. It's this intentional moment. If we miss that, then I think we find some confusion along the way about what the standards are for the relationship, what the boundaries are. So the expectation check is this real moment where we're moving beyond the I in a very co-created, dynamic, and intentional way. And so that's why Hinge launched the dating intentions feature, where you can actually put on your profile what it is that you're looking for and be upfront from the very beginning, because we found from Hinge daters that that is, what people are needing. They need this clarity and intention. They need this clarity about the relationship so that they're not confused. And so then you're like, yes.
I'm like, yeah, because that's one of the hardest points when you get to and you like someone and then you have to decide, well, what are your expectations? Can you meet me where I am? Like, how do we move forward? Is this going to move forward? And having that conversation can be so awkward. So just letting people know what your expectations are from the get-go and having that more open approach is so healing.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like it limits confusion, it limits a lot of misconceptions about what the relationship should be versus like what it is. We get to just actually get into the intentional manifestation of a relationship. So I think that Hinge's dating intention feature is very important there to our daters. And I'd like to add that for anybody that's looking to be a lot more intentional in this process, that I'd start with transparency. So just being open about what you're looking for. And then a lot of authenticity. So going back to your idea about like selling yourself or not, really kind of thinking about it as a process of allowing yourself to be seen. That's what I'd like to think of it as. Allowing yourself to be witnessed, allowing yourself to receive unconditional love. I think that that's the part of the process I witness as a therapist that gets missed more than anything else. The process of allowing. A lot of times we focus on the creating with someone or the getting love from someone, but when we think about like receiving love, that's like there's a whole other piece of the work. So I'd say like authenticity, this transparency and communication, and then just allowing for your needs to change and like updating that along the way. So if you say, I was actually thinking about hookups, but now that I met you, oh my gosh, I can't stop thinking about you. I want something more. Say that. That's like, totally okay. So I would say intentions get to shift as you learn more and more about yourself and as you evolve. So just continue to communicate as they shift.
Wow. I think what really stood out for me as you were talking was this idea of allowing ourselves to receive love. I think especially some of the marginalization of the queer community has prevented us from allowing ourselves to be in receipt of love and trying to people please and trying to give more than we actually allow. So this idea of being deserving of love and open to receiving and allowing ourselves to receive that is so beautiful. So thank you for saying that in this space and for reinforcing that message for everyone who's watching at home. Yeah. You are deserving of love. You're allowed to feel good things. So yes. Thank you so much, Mo, for saying that.
Thank you.
Hashtag L with the T, lesbians in solidarity with our trans siblings. And Taimi, you have been receiving all kinds of praise for your app, but mostly you have received praise for being the best app for trans daters. Congratulations. Why do you think that is?
That is a great question. First of all, I'm glad that this is the feedback that we have received. And we do have a very, very big trans community, not just from the United States, but globally as well, especially from areas where there's less marginalization. There's so many things that we deal with when it comes to our trans users. When they reach out to us, we have personal conversations sometimes as support. Just last week, I think I talked to one user in Kentucky about the bill that banned trans healthcare. And it was a very difficult conversation. We didn't really know how to offer them support except to give them some resources, give them some knowledge about what they can do maybe. But when it comes to trans dating, one of the reasons that Taimi has garnered this reputation is because of our algorithm and overall how it works. We wanted to include trans users in this whole dating world situation, because we felt that other apps, and I'm not talking about you guys specifically, but in the primitive days of dating, as Robin also highlighted about her, there were just hetero apps, and then you had maybe a gay app or two. So that just excluded so many different types of people with so many different types of identities. And trans women specifically need a space where they can date safely, where there's going to be safety measures in place that help them do so, and also a space where they will find like-minded individuals. One of the key things is that in our algorithm, even on a technical level, cis women and trans women, unless they select their preferences otherwise, get the same results out of selecting I'm attracted to women, I'm attracted to men, what I'm attracted to. So there is no differentiation in you being trans or not. It's just what you choose to be attracted to in the options, and then you get the results that you want, which means we do not select you as a separate identity per se to separate you. It's more like your own identity, and you're validated, but here you have the whole dating pool in front of you and you can engage. And primarily, I think one of the greatest things is that a lot of trans users have been able to find not only romantic relationships, but just circles of people they can be friends with, people they can hang out with in their specific area. This is especially important. So we've just kind of tried to push both the advertising and the functionality in that direction to show, hey, you're welcome here, you're validated.
And what really stands out there is that idea of like real inclusion ultimately leads to full acceptance. And there's lots of data around, you know, the most transphobic people are those who have never actually met a trans person and don't have that exposure. And so having that platform, which is so inclusive and just gives us an opportunity to be together in solidarity as a community, is really beautiful. And we're having a moment on this panel for allyship. And on the topic of allyship, Mo, Hinge and DIVA recently looked at the idea of bi erasure. And we worked on some myth busters. So can you explain what some of those myth busters are and how we can sort of give some advice to bisexual and pansexual siblings who are entering the world of perhaps queer dating for the first time?
Yeah, so absolutely. There are so many misconceptions. I know we're probably aware of many of them. Just so many misconceptions surrounding bisexuality. Some of them being, and I won't get into a lot of them, but just the idea that you can't be bisexual if you've never had an experience with more than one gender. We know that that's not true, that people can understand their sexuality well before even having any kind of sexual experience, or just misconceptions around bisexuality and whether or not people can remain monogamous. Many bisexual people choose monogamy. So this is a myth, but we're working really hard at Hinge, I think, to overcome a lot of these stereotypes and really release important information about identity. And so I'm not sure if you're aware of our NFAQ, so not so frequently asked questions about LGBTQIA plus identity and dating, which is a resource that's available on our app and online that provides answers to a lot of questions, and a lot of this myth busting happens there. And so it's a resource that's free. It's available to anyone who wants to go look at it. I've actually answered a lot of questions myself, so give that a look. But as I get into the rest of your question, I'm thinking a lot about what we learned from this LGBTQIA plus date report at Hinge is like how many Hinge daters are exploring their sexuality for the first time, and for bisexual daters, that number is an overwhelming majority of bisexual daters have not had a queer dating experience. And for nearly half of those bisexual daters on Hinge who haven't had a queer dating experience, it's because they fear having these conversations about it being their first time. And so I've gotten to sit and think a lot about this as a therapist and even as Hinge's love and connection expert. And what we've gained in terms of more information from daters is that this discomfort really arises from these misconceptions around identity, and what it means to be bisexual. But there is hope, because we've also learned that 80% of LGBTQIA plus daters on Hinge are open to being someone's first queer dating experience. So I think that's pretty amazing. It's the chances are very, very likely that if you meet someone and it's your first time exploring queer dating, that they're going to be open to being your first time queer dating experience if you have that conversation. So this goes back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of communication. But yeah, I'm really excited about that statistic. I know we talked about there are going to be some statistics. I'm really excited about that. That just means that there is some open-mindedness, some open-heartedness that's actually happening. But if we can get beyond the misconceptions and we can have the conversations and we can share ourselves authentically, it does lead to less phobia, less of those isms, or less of the illusion of separation between us. I think you were talking about this as it relates to trans daters and how transphobia exists because many people haven't even met a transgender person. I think it's the same thing for bisexuality and pansexuality. Many people don't understand the lived experiences of bisexual or pansexual people and the nuances that can exist across a vast intersection of identity. Now I have the privilege as a therapist, of having explored a lot of those intersections. So I can say with certainty that there's just a lot of nuance. And so it's important to get to know people one-on-one.
Absolutely. And that really echoes the sentiment of what Lesbian Visibility Week and why we have these celebrations. You know, more exposure hopefully leads to less phobia, more integration, more safety, more respect, and more celebration for individuality. You know, none of us deserve to be tolerated. So let's keep on busting those myths. And I'm going to come to Robin, bringing it back to Women Loving Women and Lesbian Visibility Week. Growing up, I had so many misconceptions and preconceived ideas of what women loving women looked like. So what are some of the common misconceptions around lesbian dating, and what's the actual truth?
Oh my God, it's a big question. What is the truth of all lesbian dating? I think some of the biggest misconceptions that we see, number one, is that there are like 10 lesbians in every city and I've dated them all and that's it. Like everyone has this belief. We talk about it as like a mindset of scarcity rather than a mindset of abundance. And I think that's come from a lack of visibility, the lack of platforms, the lack of like knowing that there are factually like millions and millions of lesbians in every single country. So that feeling of I'm going to run out of people to date is just not true. And I think that's why the work that all of us do and having panels like this and having a visibility week is so important, to show ourselves and the rest of the world the size and scale of this community that we are in, and that you will always have an abundance of options, because there really are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of lesbians, queer women in your city, in your area, that are dating and wanting to meet you. I think another really big misconception, and to be honest, is being perpetuated by the goddamn loud voice of TERFs in the room, and the God, we wish they would all shut the fuck up, but they're perpetuating belief that there is one type of lesbian, and that is just not true. There are so many types of lesbians that exist in this world. There are like femme lesbians, butch lesbians, masc lesbians, andro lesbians, non-binary lesbians, trans lesbians, ace lesbians, people who are out, people who are like not coming out yet. There are so many types of lesbians to meet and connect with, and the experience of being lesbian is very varied and very different based on the individual and their journey and where they are. And so having that like acceptance and tolerance and like welcomeness for like accepting all the types of lesbians that exist out there is going to give us all like healthier, better dating expectations and connections with all the lesbians that exist. Oh, and last up, the one we were talking about was that lesbians only want to date other lesbians. Like, just not true. And I was thinking about this as you were talking about the kind of bi-erasure, biphobia study you're looking at. Like, we from like kind of some vocal feedback we had seen in our community space on her, we had a belief that like that might be the case, that lesbians only wanted to date other lesbians and they had biphobia, and that they didn't want to date other bisexual folks because they wanted to just commit to other lesbians. And then we looked at the numbers behind it, and it's just totally not the case. In fact, lesbians are swiping right, and this, was like, you get numbers for anything, but it was true. Like, lesbians were swiping right on bisexual women more than they were on other lesbians, who were like, great, the doors are open. Everyone is dating everyone. You can identify as one sexuality. You can build beautiful connections and relationships with all other sexualities. And I think that kind of keeps the door open for, like, at her, we call it the Flinter community, which is actually a German phrase, which is for Frau, women, lesbian, intersex, trans, and ace folks. And, everyone as part of this community is like more often than not open to dating all other sexualities and genders within it.
Yes, I feel like I want just that snippet to be recorded and sent to everyone, especially as a lesbian who dates a pansexual woman. So many people have told me in the past that there are certain ways that I'm supposed to be. And so being part of this community where we are now so open and so loving and so accepting is really important. So thank you for saying that. And thank you for saying that there is an abundance of women to date. We will not have scarcity or lack mindset when it comes to dating. I love that. Thank you so much. When it comes to using apps, what we're seeing more and more is that people are using these types of apps not just to find love, but also to find community, to find platonic partnerships, to find spaces where they feel safe to share and to grow and to be heard and held. So what kind of advice, and I'm going to ask this all to each of you, have you got for LGBTQIA plus individuals for using your app, not just for love, but also for friendship? I'm going to come to Mako for us. What's Timey? How can people use your app for friendship and community?
Of course. I think by and large, most of our audience is looking to date, but a lot of the times you will see their cards, their About Me sections saying, I'm open to friendships, I'm open to dating, I'm open to everything. So a lot of people are actually there for the full package. You get a friend, let's say it doesn't work out romantically, that's fine. Okay, we stay friends. We are currently working on some really good features that are kind of like revamped versions of some of the features we had before that we removed and then we're bringing back to bolster more community connections. I'm not going to reveal what they are because that's a trade secret, but I am going to say that overall, I think Mo also spoke about, just being honest and straightforward with things. Just declare what you want, because our community is so big, and especially, again, for people in Western Europe and the United States, where a lot of our audience is from, there are so many people around you. Just be honest about what you're looking for. Sometimes people will say, I'm looking for butch friends and femme girlfriends. And it's like, okay, that's fine. Whatever category you want, that's also valid, because if that's what you're looking for, that's just what you're looking for. We also have these different types of sections that allow you to convey what you're into. So in terms of, are you into gaming? Are you into sports? What type of people are you into? So like, are you into people who party? Are you into people who don't? And those are not filters, but they do match up when you see another person's profile. If you've got them selected, it's not obligatory, you don't have to. But if they match up, those vibes will tell you, oh, this is kind of like my person. And then from there, once you connect with them, you can talk about those things. And it also lays the groundwork for a conversation that, again, just like Mo mentioned, isn't just stuck in the, hey, how are you stage. So there's actually stuff to speak about and connect over. And specifically, I would like to highlight the importance of, again, trans users finding those types of communities. This is why those vibes and energy sections are very important, because a lot of trans users don't quite want to put themselves out there fully, but they're looking to at least do some kind of expression until they get comfortable with the app and until they get comfortable with the way that they're doing this whole whole dating thing. So they just want friends and they can get them. There's no different layout as of this time to get friends versus dates. But we try to promote that you can do whatever you want on the app and you will still get a connection.
I love that. And what I really love about that is this idea of finding things that are sort of relatable or common interests. I do a lot of work as a proud person with autism around autism advocacy. And one of the things I love is that quite a few of my queer friends also have a special interest of dinosaurs. And so anyone who likes dinosaurs, I am besties with instantly. We can talk for hours. Let's go to the National History Museum and revel in this shared passion. And so it's beautiful that there are spaces where people can connect over really the simplest things, but find safety and home and chosen family. Mo, I'm going to come to you next. Same question. How can individuals use your app to find community and friendships?
Yeah, this is beautiful. I'm loving this conversation, and it really gets to the heart of what I feel like is coming up for me around meaningful connection. I feel for myself as a therapist, and at Hinge, meaningful connection feels like the goal for like all of us. I think friendship gets at the core of our humanity as people. Connection feels like something that is deeply woven into our nature. Like we are, I mean, even if you're introverted or you have moments of being the hermit in the tarot, like you want connection. We all do, to varying degrees. And so I think that this is beautiful that people are looking to make all kinds of love on Hinge. And so for anybody wanting to do that, I think my suggestions would be the same as they'd be for all lovers. To be very intentional about what it is that you're looking for, what feel like standards for your relationships, um, being being clear about where you are today with that, because it really can evolve and it can change. And so you don't have to know where you're going to be 10 years from now or five months from now, but just being honest about where you are today and that you're looking for friendship, and know that people will love you, receive you, and want to be your friend, even if they're on a dating app. Because love really comes in a variety of forms. And I think that there are so many people that are open to friendship as the foundation of their connection. And we actually learned from our LGBTQIA plus Hinge daters that foundation and friendship is the number 2 most important quality that people are looking for in their romantic connections. And so often relationships start as friendships, or they have this real deep foundation in friendship. And I've seen that over the course of my work as a therapist, that when I'm working with usually some type of couple dynamic in therapy, although sometimes I get other kinds of relationship like triads or other dynamics, the foundation of that connection is friendship. And so I'm often just looking at the quality of the friendship or the relationship, and I try to take off the illusion or the idea that they're coming as this type of relationship, and they're really coming as friends or people that are doing connection together. And so it's really humbling to think about the journey that we embark upon when we just enter into love, and that the foundation of that is just connection. I think friendship really gets at that. So for anybody that's looking to explore that on Hinge, I just invite you to being open. So being open with yourself and allowing for love and community. I believe at the core of all people's experiences on earth, there's this desire for belonging, authenticity, and love. I kind of sum up everything into those 3 things. And so if you feel yourself meeting your goal or your standard with regard to belonging, authenticity, and love, you think you've made your match on Hinge. And I'm looking forward to thinking of a world where people are really pursuing love in all forms.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. What was really coming up for me as you were saying that is I always think of my relationships of having like my romantic love cup and then my platonic love cup. And I have to feel both. And for such a long time as a queer woman, it was almost as though as soon as I got into a relationship, all of my platonic love cups just sort of got pushed to the side, or vice versa. And so, you know, finding queer women to have friendships with and sisterhood, and, you know, not all of my queer female friends are people who I'm going to be in a relationship with romantically, and just having that space to do both is really, as I said earlier, this conversation is just healing. And same question to you, Robin. And when it comes to her, how can people use her to find connection and friendship?
Yeah, I mean, for all of us working in this space, I think we know in the Flinter scene and community, dating and friendship is like synonymous. Like you start friends, you moves over to dating, and then your ex is on, and then they're dating, and then it's friends, and then it's like this cyclical kind of like transition between a lot of these different stages in relationships. So we inherently just like have it in our community. I think that I was thinking about this a lot in the really early days of her. And so we built out quite a large number of features to support that and kind of like open up different options to make it accessible and a little bit more easier to signal, hey, I actually am starting as friendship versus I'm starting this as dating. So we actually have the ability to add someone as a friend inside of the app. And so if you're not really ready for something romantic, you can have that initial contact that is around friendship and kind of sets the expectations that, hey, we're kicking off in a more platonic way here. And then we have a really big side to the app, which is the communities. So we have about 30 communities that are around certain different interests or different identity groups to help connect people about what's important to them. So that can be everything from astrology to the lesbian community. And it's really just about like having conversations and being able to have dialogue and build relationships where it's not just like, I think you're hot, let's see where this goes, which is how, you know, a lot of dating initiates, but actually more, hey, we care about this same thing. Like, let's have a conversation around it. I would love to get to know you. And maybe in the back of my head, I'm thinking this could end up romantic, but it's starting from that like kind of friendship angle, and we'll just like see where things go.
I am living for that. I am that crystal loving lesbian that will ask you what time you were born.
Oh yeah.
I will have you texting all your parents and guardians to find out the exact time of birth. So avoid me at all costs,
Totally.
or no. Thank you so much for all of you being so candid and vulnerable, sharing your secrets and celebrating all that it is to be queer and loving others and part of this amazing, expanding and evolving community. Before we sort of close this panel, is there anything that you'd like to address, anything we haven't touched on, or any final messages for Lesbian Visibility Week? You can just wave at me if you want to say something. Just go, Mo Re.
Not that anybody needs this permission, but I just want to offer up this love and some empowerment toward authenticity. Just reminding everybody that it's okay to be yourself, and it's okay to be who you are now. And I invite you into receiving the affirmation that you are exactly who, what, when, where, and why you're supposed to be. And the why sometimes becomes clear as we allow for the journey to unfold. And so I just wanted to offer that love, that affirmation that you are authentic and you are exactly who you're supposed to be.
Wow. That was beautiful, wasn't it?
Oh,
Marco, do you want to add something to that?
My affirmation is going to be a little less, I don't know, beautiful than that, I guess. But to any queer woman, but specifically lesbian women, I think one of the hardest things to do is just to be without being commodified, fetishized, objectified, exploited. And even if those things are happening to you, to anyone, we just have to carry on and keep fighting the good fight. There's no other choice. We just keep living. Don't let the patriarchy get you down. That's just a good little message from me. And don't be afraid. I think depending where people are from, there's more openness, there's less openness. I personally don't live in a very LGBTQIA welcoming country, so I have very firsthand experience of what it's like to be in that environment. And the newer generation is fortunately changing that. So I'm very thankful for everybody who does that across the globe. So yeah, we're all in it together. I don't know what else to say. Hope that worked.
It definitely worked. Solidarity. And Robin, did you want to just close with something?
Mine is just like a revisit. I think it is Lesbian Visibility Week, and I think it's so important to like keep talking about the lesbian identity. I think as our like language and community has expanded so beautifully and wonderfully, there's been tons of focus around like other identities, other sexualities. And with that, I think like a lesbian identity has like lost its footing some way in the journey of like, what does it mean to be a lesbian? And it hasn't been like the main narrative of conversation, which is okay because it was the main conversation for a long time. But as we now kind of like establish really what it means, just the reminder, like, do not listen to this voice that is trying to perpetuate that cis lesbians are the only lesbians that exist. It is just not true. It is not the case. And there are so many beautiful, broad ranging types of lesbians that exist in this world. And being able to like recognize and acknowledge all the lesbians that are there, giving yourself the space to be the type of lesbian that you truly are, is super, super important in this like week of visibility.
Oh, amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you at home for joining us. Happy Lesbian Visibility Week. And remember that you are safe here. This is a time to celebrate your authenticity, your individuality. And like Robin just said, there's no one way to be lesbian. All lesbians are valid here. So have a great Lesbian Visibility Week. And don't forget to like, share, and join in the conversation. We'll see you again soon.